Women do not fall in love with you because you have six-pack abs, not because you drive a sports car or have a fat bank account either. Those things might grab attention for a moment, but just like smoke, they fade fast. What actually makes a woman stay, what keeps you on her mind even when you are not around, are the qualities society tends to overlook. Depth, presence, real masculine strength. Things you cannot buy and sure as hell cannot fake. Ever met a man who is not particularly handsome, not flashy, not trying to impress anyone, but somehow women are drawn to him like a magnet? That is not luck. That is the result of becoming the kind of man who has developed the depth most guys do not even realize they are missing. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." And that is the problem. Most men today spend their time thinking about how to be liked, how to be seen, how to rack up more likes on social media. Very few spend time thinking about how to become better, deeper, stronger. And then they wonder why women are not interested. Attraction is not about what you do. It is about who you are becoming. Women have sharper intuition than you give them credit for. They can smell insecurity behind loud words. They can feel fake confidence in your tone, your eyes, the way you move. And they are only truly drawn to a man who lives in alignment with who he is naturally, unapologetically, with solid presence. Think you know what turns women on? Maybe you're only seeing the surface. In this video, I am going to walk you through the hidden traits that most never talk about. The ones that do not get taught in school. The ones they leave out of the romantic comedies. But these are the truths every man who wants to attract women and conquer himself must eventually confront. And when you are done, you will have to ask yourself one question. Am I becoming that kind of man? Real confidence is not something you can fake. You cannot memorize a few cool lines or copy someone else's posture and suddenly be seen as confident. It is not in your walk, your deep voice, or the piercing stare you saw in a movie. True confidence comes from inner peace. It is the calm knowing that you do not have to prove anything to anyone because you already know who you are. In today's world, people confuse confidence with performance. They try to talk louder, smile bigger, or wear a tough persona to cover up the anxiety eating away inside. But the truth is brutal. The more a man feels the need to prove himself, the less he actually has to offer. Bruce Lee once said, "Confidence comes not from always being right, but from not fearing to be wrong." That hits the core of the issue. A confident man does not need to win every time. He is not afraid to mess up because his sense of worth does not come from other people's opinions. He defines himself and owns the outcome. Confidence is not the result of success. It is the foundation that creates success. A truly confident man is willing to step into uncertain situations. He does not need to control the outcome. He only needs to control his response. He is not afraid of rejection because his value is not built on approval or attention. Try this exercise right now. Picture yourself standing in front of a woman you deeply admire. If you feel the need to act calm, say something smart, or worry about what she thinks of you, you are not confident. Because if you were truly grounded, you would not need to perform. You would just be yourself, and that would be enough. That is why women are drawn to confident men, but repelled by show-offs. One radiates strength and safety. The other screams insecurity behind a hollow mask. Ever felt thrown off when someone did not text you back? Ever lost your peace because of a cold look from someone you like? That is a clear sign you have not yet taken ownership of yourself. A confident man does not let others dictate his emotions. He can be hurt, but he does not lose direction. He can be sad, but he never loses his center. Confidence is stability in a chaotic world. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, wrote, He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe. Confidence, at its core, is not being manipulated by looks, compliments, rejection, or gossip. Let me ask you this. If tomorrow, no one cared about you, no texts, no likes, no validation, would you still feel valuable? If the answer is no, then you are building your identity on outside approval, not inner strength. To build real confidence, start with ruthless honesty. Face your weaknesses. Look at the parts of yourself you usually hide. Stop covering them up, start owning them. That is your foundation. Next, take intentional action. Face the things that scare you, one step at a time. Not to impress others, but to prove to yourself, I can do this. Every small win stacks up into true confidence. And finally, be consistent. No one respects a man who says one thing and does another, not even himself. When you keep promises to yourself, even the small ones, you build internal trust. And there is nothing more attractive than a man who trusts himself. Confidence does not come from noise. It comes from calm, from integrity, from alignment. And when you are truly grounded, you do not need to chase attention. You become the kind of man others are naturally drawn to. No performance, no pretending. Your presence will speak for itself. It sounds like a contradiction, does it not? How can courage go hand in hand with vulnerability? Men are taught to be tough. Do not cry. Do not show weakness. Do not let anyone see the cracks. But here is the truth. The ability to face and express your vulnerability is one of the highest forms of masculine strength. The problem is, most men have no idea what that means. They confuse controlling emotions with burying emotions. They go silent when hurt. They tighten up when something breaks. They armor themselves in stoic silence while their inner world quietly falls apart. Brené Brown, the renowned researcher on vulnerability, once said, "Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the birthplace of courage." That truth is uncomfortable for most, because showing vulnerability means opening yourself up to judgment, rejection, even deeper wounds. And that takes a kind of strength most people are never taught to develop. You cannot show vulnerability if you are still controlled by the fear of losing your image. You cannot open up if you are still obsessed with being perfect. And you cannot deeply connect with any woman if you are constantly playing the role of the man who never breaks. The truly strong man is the one who can say, "I am not okay, but I am facing it." He does not yell. He does not complain. He is not looking for pity. He simply acknowledges what he feels and takes action from that truth. Authentic vulnerability connects in ways no pickup line ever could. Because women are not looking for an emotionless robot. They are looking for someone with a heart big enough to love deeply and a mind strong enough to own his emotions without losing himself. Have you ever noticed that the most powerful conversations do not always come from laughter, but from a moment of raw honesty? From someone willing to say, "I was scared," or "I was crushed," or "I lost something that mattered." And when you, as a man, can say, "That broke me once," without flinching, without shame, without apology, you are not weaker. You are more respected. Most men cannot do this. That is why so many relationships stay on the surface. They do not go deeper because the man refuses to go deeper into himself. So let me ask you, can you face your old wounds? Can you speak the truth about how it felt to be betrayed, to fail, to break? Can you let someone see you not perfect, not invincible, but real? If the answer is no, then all your relationships, romantic or otherwise, will only be temporary, shallow echoes of what they could have been. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." In other words, growth does not come from trying to be stronger. It comes from facing the parts of yourself you have been avoiding. And let us be clear, vulnerability is not a performance. You cannot use it as a tool to get attention. Women are intuitive enough to know when you are being real versus when you are manipulating. Vulnerability only has power when it comes from courage, not emotional hunger. If you want to be truly strong, you must learn to sit with pain without letting it rule you. Practice saying, I am hurt, I am struggling, but I am still moving forward. No drama, no pity-seeking, just truth raw, grounded, and bold. And strangely enough, the moment you let someone see your real self, they start to trust you more. Men do not need to be perfect to be loved. They just need to be honest and brave enough not to run from who they are. Because in the end, men do not break because of pain. They break because they are too afraid to admit they are in pain. Kindness is one of the most attractive traits a man can have, and also one of the most misunderstood and abused. Modern society has confused kindness with weakness. Men are being taught to avoid conflict, to always be agreeable, to seek approval. And so, they become the nice guy, the man who tries to please everyone, always says the right thing, avoids tension at all costs, and ends up being disrespected by everyone. Why? Because real kindness is not about pleasing people. True kindness is having power, but choosing not to use it to dominate. It is knowing when to say no. It is protecting your boundaries while still treating others with respect. You can be gentle with a child, polite to a waiter, compassionate with your partner, but that does not mean you should let people walk all over you just because you do not want to cause trouble. That is the dividing line between a kind man and a nice guy. A kind man acts from strength. A nice guy acts from fear. The nice guy is afraid of rejection, afraid of being disliked, afraid of letting people down. So he agrees to everything, compromises constantly, and eventually loses himself. The kind man, on the other hand, knows what is right and wrong. He helps not to be liked, but because it aligns with his core values. He is kind because that is who he is not, because he is secretly hoping for a reward. Psychologist Jordan Peterson once said, "You should not be a harmless man. You should be a monster, and then learn how to control it." Kindness is not about lacking teeth. It is about knowing exactly when to keep them hidden. If you have never stood up for yourself, never walked away from a toxic situation, never said no to someone you do not respect, then your kindness is just a mask. It holds no weight, and it earns no respect. Women are not drawn to men who only aim to please. They are drawn to men with standards. Men who can be respectful, but will also walk away the moment someone crosses the line. Have you ever been in a situation where you treated a woman with sincere care, effort, and support, yet she chose someone who treated her carelessly? It is not because she prefers bad boys. It is because she could not feel your strength. Kindness does not mean weakness. Kindness is a form of power when paired with clarity and backbone. I once saw a man who had been betrayed. He did not scream. He did not blame. He simply looked her in the eyes and said, "I respect your decision, but I will not stay where there is no honesty." Then he walked away. No threats, no begging, no drama. That was cold steel kindness, and that is real strength. A truly kind man is not afraid to disappoint others. He is only afraid of betraying himself. Here is what you must remember. You do not need to be kind to everyone. You need to be kind to yourself first. That means living by your principles, honoring your boundaries, and holding true to your values. When you do that, your kindness carries weight, and people feel it even when you say nothing. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will." That will is reflected in quiet acts of kindness, even when no one is watching, even when nothing is given in return. And here is a hard truth. There will be times when your kindness is exploited. Some will mistake it for softness. Some will try to manipulate you with guilt, words, or tears. If you do not have the ability to be both kind and firm, you will be swept up in someone else's game. True kindness never trades away respect. It requires a strong spine, a wide heart, and a sharp mind. So yes, be kind but be clear. Be gentle but be unshakable. Be helpful but have boundaries. Because a real man does not just know how to love. He knows when to walk away. Not out of selfishness, but because he understands. His worth is not in how many people like him. It is in whether he can look himself in the mirror each morning and respect what he sees. The world today is drowning in noise. Social media, ads, advice. Everyone wants to talk. Everyone wants to be seen, to be heard, to be noticed. But here is a truth most people completely miss. In a world where everyone is trying to speak, the man who knows how to truly listen becomes magnetic. Listening is not just sitting quietly while someone else talks. It is an art, a skill. It is feeling the emotion behind the words. It is being fully present in the moment. It is patience resisting the urge to interrupt, to judge, to react. But most of all, it is a quiet way of saying, I am grounded enough to hold space for you exactly as you are. Dale Carnegie, author of How to Win Friends and Influence People, once said, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get people interested in you. That quote hits home for countless men who try to impress with words, wit, and stories without realizing the most captivating person in the room is usually the one who makes others feel heard. Have you ever sat with someone, shared something deeply personal, and they did not interrupt, did not judge, just looked at you with steady, present eyes? No advice, no solutions, just presence. That kind of moment can be more healing than anything else. And when it comes to women, this is a top-tier skill. Women do not just communicate with words. They speak through tone, pauses, glances, the things left unsaid. If a man is focused only on what she says, he will miss the meaning entirely. But the man who listens with both his heart and his mind, he gets access to her inner world. And that is a space only strong, intuitive men are allowed to enter. Communication is not about winning. It is not about waiting your turn to speak. It is about understanding. It is about connection. A man who knows how to listen really listen, not just with his ears, but with his posture, his eyes, and his silence at the right time, is the man who makes a woman feel safe, valued, and deeply seen. Here's the harsh paradox. Some men talk for hours, tell jokes, debate ideas, and say all the right things, but leave no impression. Meanwhile, another man says very little, listens deeply, responds intentionally, and becomes unforgettable. Why? Because the second man creates space. He gives others the rare gift of feeling truly themselves. And people always remember where they felt most authentic. Want to become that kind of man? Start by stopping. Stop thinking you need to say something clever. Stop preparing your comeback while the other person is still speaking. Stop seeing yourself as the main character in every conversation. Instead, be there. Look people in the eye. Nod slowly. Ask to understand, not to show off what you know. Do not confuse listening with passive silence. Listening is an active process. It is bringing your full attention, your respect, and your curiosity to another person. Socrates once said, "The way to gain a good reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear, and what you appear to be when you listen. Grounded, thoughtful, present, powerful. When you truly listen, you will start to see. Not everyone wants advice. Not everyone wants to be fixed. Most people just want to know that someone will stay even when they are showing the messiest, most unpolished parts of themselves. And the man who can hold space for that, that is the man who radiates presence, maturity, and quiet strength. Yes, the man who talks a lot may get attention at first, but it is the man who listens deeply who stays in her mind long after the conversation ends. So, learn to listen, not to impress, but to become the kind of man who makes others feel seen, understood, and impossible to forget. There is a type of man who walks into a room and does not need to be loud. He does not show off, flex, or dominate the space. Yet somehow, every head turns, not because of his looks, not because of his money, but because there is something deeper in his presence, something in the way he says one sentence that makes people stop and think. This is not a man who just knows things. This is a man who is always learning, not to impress anyone, but because standing still would feel like death to him. Curiosity is not about stuffing your head with facts. It is a mindset, a way of life. A man with intellectual depth does not ask, "What do I know?" He asks, "What do I still not understand?" That hunger, that refusal to settle, makes him a moving force, constantly evolving, expanding, challenging his own limits. Albert Einstein once said, "I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious." That curiosity is not weakness. In the world of men, it is power. Because the man who keeps learning, keeps observing, keeps growing, is the man who becomes impossible to defeat. And women feel this. They may be initially drawn to a man's looks, but they fall deeply for his mind. Try this. In your next conversation, talk about a book you're reading, a philosophy you're reflecting on, or something new you're learning. Notice how the light in your eyes comes alive, how your voice holds a quiet passion. That spark? That is the flame that pulls people into your orbit. Curiosity signals something powerful. You are a man with direction. No man learns unless he feels there is more to become. And every woman wants to walk beside a man who is going somewhere, who is deep, intentional, and hungry for more than comfort. Picture this. You are sitting between two men. One cracks jokes, makes small talk, follows a script. The other brings up Greek philosophy, breaks down financial models, or analyzes a film from a thoughtful human lens. Who do you gravitate toward? Exactly. So if you want to be the kind of man who does not just attract women, but keeps them intrigued, do not wait for knowledge to come to you. Read, write, observe, reflect, ask questions, explore. And there's another gift that comes with curiosity: humility. Because the more you learn, the more you realize how little you actually know. That humility keeps you grounded, keeps you improving. Women are not looking for men who are always right. They are looking for men who are always open to growth, to feedback, even to learning from them. Socrates once said, "I know that I know nothing." It was not a weakness. It was the ultimate strength and acknowledgement that the mind must remain open to expand. The opposite, a man who has stopped learning, who thinks he knows enough, who no longer questions, no longer wonders, no longer grows. That man slowly withers. His thoughts dull, his soul dries up, and his relationships follow suit. Because a relationship cannot stay alive without curiosity. It is not fancy dinners that keep passion burning. It is thoughtful conversations, mutual learning, a shared journey of growth. A man with a growing mind is never boring, because every day with him is a new chapter. Want to be that man? Start small. Cut out the mental junk. Read 30 minutes a day. Choose one topic each week to explore. Learn a new language. Journal at night. Surround yourself with people who are sharper than you. And above all, ask questions, constantly, not to find perfect answers, but to keep your mind alive and sharp. You do not need to broadcast your curiosity. It shows in the way you speak. in the way you think, in the way you grow deeper, sharper, more self-aware every single day. And always remember this: a man may catch a woman's eye with looks, but only a man with wisdom and curiosity will keep her heart for a lifetime. You can memorize 100 pickup lines, master every alpha male trick, and rehearse your smile, your stance, your tone, just to seem more attractive. But here's the hard truth. If you have to try that hard to be appealing, you're faking it. And women, especially women with depth, can always tell. Attraction is not a costume. It is not a script. It is not born from mimicking someone else's formula for success. Real attraction comes from identity crafted, sharpened, and earned through disciplined growth. You do not need to become someone else. You just need to become the most honest, disciplined, and powerful version of yourself. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, said it best: you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And for men, that system is your daily discipline, your mindset, your will to grow. Want to be attractive? Start here. Stand in front of the mirror each morning and ask yourself, am I living by my principles today? Am I speaking what I truly believe? Am I acting like the kind of man I would respect? Stop trying to make women love you. Start becoming the man you cannot help but respect. When you control your emotions, you attract. When you live with purpose, you attract. When you listen with intention, you attract. When you never stop learning, you attract. But above all, when you are real, you shine. Because at the end of the day, women are not looking for perfection. They are drawn to a man who is becoming not for her, not for applause, but for himself. So you want to be attractive? Then stop chasing attention. Start building the kind of man they cannot look away from.